Hello, and welcome to Somerville Neighborhood News. I'm Yvette Wilkes.
And I'm Mark Billiker. Today is December 24th. Somerville Neighborhood News is a community service production of SCAT TV put together by staff, interns, and your neighbors. We bring you the news every 2 weeks right here on Channel 3 and on our website, scatvsomerville.org/SNN, where you can watch the news in your language.
That's right. With just a few clicks, you can see this newscast with subtitles. Tonight, our reporters bring you stories on homelessness in Somerville, the city's vibrant Nepali community, the new class schedule at the high school, a local hire initiative for the Green Line extension construction, and we'll hear from some Mystic apartment residents about their hopes for 2014.
But first, let's look at some of the news from the past 2 weeks. Maybe the biggest story is the fact that the city released its request for qualifications document for potential Union Square developers. It lays out the city's goals for Union Square and even has some drawings showing a totally transformed neighborhood.
Yes, and the document also gives details about the city's ideals for the parcels that might be taken over by eminent domain. Our last newscast talked about that a little bit, and you can watch it online if you missed it.
Some people, including several aldermen, are a little nervous about that and about having a single developer. Take a look at the document yourself by downloading it. Go to the city's website, www.ci.somerville.ma.us, and search for Union Square RFQ.
In one of their last meetings of the year, the aldermen approved spending $150,000 to fund a study that would look at the impact of the casino being planned for Everett. City officials said they are not happy with the information they have received from casino developer Steve Wynn.
The Somerville Patch is reporting that ESPN Boston is giving Somerville High School senior Tyrone Miranda its 2013 Mr. Soccer Award. It goes to their pick of top high school soccer player in the state. Miranda was the player who did the bicycle kick we featured in our November 26th newscast. Check out the December 19th patch for details.
Finally, we wanted to correct two small errors in our reporting on the part-time professors union at Tufts that ran in our November 12th newscast. Our story said that some part-timers at Tufts make only $3,000 per course. Tufts points out that, in fact, the professors who form the union currently get at least $5,000 per course. We apologize. However, we would like to note that we didn't really make a big error. There actually are part-time professors at Tufts who only get $3,000 per course, but they are not currently included in union negotiating.
Also, Tufts said that we made an error by stating that the university recently negotiated with the janitors union. Tufts is correct. The negotiations last summer took place between the university and SEIU District 61532BJ. Somerville Neighborhood News strives for accuracy. We welcome all comments and criticism.
Our first story could be good news for Somerville residents looking for good jobs. A local hire and training agreement is being crafted between the MBTA, the cities of Somerville, Cambridge and Medford, community groups, and the Massachusetts Department of Transportation. News Director Jane Regan brings us the story.
So here is where the future Union Square T station of the Green Line is going to be. This is all the area that the MBTA, MassDOT, and the city is going to be developing. So we were like, here is going to be an investment of $1.4 billion. So how we can make sure some of that money stay in their community, in our community here in Somerville, and provide opportunity for our residents to have access to those jobs.
The Green Line extension construction has already started and will take at least 5 years. The Somerville Community Corporation and Jobs for Somerville are working on an agreement with the MBTA that would assure Somerville residents get some of those construction jobs.
We want to make sure this project, the Green Line extension, provide opportunities for local communities, minorities, people of color, and women.
The Mass Department of Transportation and the MBTA both say they agree with the idea of assuring construction benefits local businesses and also local workers. Dr. Beverly Scott is the MBTA's general manager.
There have to be ways that we can in fact wind up being able so that where we're actually making the investments, in many instances where citizens are going to wind up experiencing the most in terms of disruption, that we can really wind up saying, why does it matter to me? There is no reason why we should not be, in every instance, trying to see how we can wind up not only spending these dollars to make great transportation investments, but at the same time doing everything that we can to stimulate both job opportunities as well as overall economic business opportunities for communities and businesses and people that live within the Commonwealth.
MassDOT, the MBTA, and the Somerville Group sent a delegation to Denver recently in order to learn from a similar project called Workforce Initiative Now. There are differences in what the Somerville Groups want and what the MBTA can approve, according to Dr. Scott.
I'll be very candid with you. It's not an easy thing to do because I don't want to get into all but these projects are either federally assisted. They all have a very competitive, and it's right. I mean, they all have a public procurement competitive base to them. I know that if it's going to have our imprimatur and on our project, at the end of the day, we're going to have to stand to make sure that everything that would wind up happening with such a project would wind up meeting the strictures of what we have to do from a compliance perspective. And it's going to take a lot of partners, okay? Can't do it without the community partners. Quite candidly, it's going to wind up taking apprenticeships and organized labor. Is that we're very, very looking to be a very strong partner at the table. The other is on the educational and people who do organizations that really do workforce training. The point is to really try to make sure that at the end of the day that we have actually been able to help to create and foment real long-sustaining, life-sustaining, okay, what wind up being real opportunities for people in terms of employment.
There are still a number of details to be worked out, like who will control the project. The Somerville Groups also would like guaranteed percentages for local job seekers.
If we review the history of transportation project in Massachusetts, we have the Big Dig or the Central Artery being one, the extension of the Red Line that, like if we review the history, what happened in Davis Square was gentrification. People got displaced, and that is what we are worried that is going to happen in the corridor where the Green Line extension is going to be. So to make sure people have the opportunity to stay in the community, we want to create some space for them to have access to those jobs.
What our intention is at this point is that now we kind of got a whole bunch of information together. Certainly our partners with the Jobs for Somerville have been working on this with us, and I know it gets a little frustrating sometimes because it's like we want to get from giddy up to whoa, okay, and we also want to get from giddy up to whoa, but we also want to make sure we get from giddy up to whoa in a way that meets federal muster as well, okay, and so what we've done is that we've committed that I'm hopeful that we will in fact be able to have a good template of an MOU that we'll have completed, at least a good draft in January.
The MBTA, community groups, labor, and others still have a ways to go before they finalize their agreement. But already, the program is shaping up to be one that will benefit Somerville's residents. Just how many jobs are we talking about? That and other details still need to be worked out. We'll keep an eye on this in the months to come. Reporting for Somerville Neighborhood News, I'm Jane Regan.
One of our goals for the news is to introduce Somerville residents to their neighbors. Quite a few of them are immigrants from Nepal, a South Asian country in the Himalayan mountains. To learn more, SCAT TV director Wendy Blum spoke with the family in their East Somerville home.
It is estimated that there are between 3,000 and 4,000 Nepali people living in Somerville right now. Their primary religion is Hinduism, and the community celebrates their holiday festivals together with poetry, music, and dancing. The Podial family lives in East Somerville, and they explained a bit about why Nepalis began coming here. Prem Podial teaches mathematics at Bunker Hill Community College.
They came as a student. They find this is a good place to get higher education. And then after getting the education, they stay back here, they got the job. And then later on, slowly they started calling their friends and families.
In November, the Nepali Community held their festival in the SCAT TV studio.
That was, we call Tihar. This is, we celebrate that festival as a light festival.
A victory, like celebrating the victory over the evil. In the greater Boston area, it is estimated that there are 20,000 Nepalese people, but sometimes when they come over United States, we have problem, like if you want to do your own cultural program. So we came up with a plan that you have your own community hall. That is why we all join hand this time. So that was what we did in SCAT.
So you're raising money to buy your own place?
A permanent community center for Nepalese people to meet together and celebrate different kind of festival.
Rakmini Karki is the president of the Nepali Women Global Network. I asked her if it's difficult for Nepalis to adapt to America.
So it's sometimes actually like a language barrier and the confidence. That is why the Nepali Women Global Network, last time we did a resume workshop in SCAT and bringing all the Nepalese women, and we try to identify the most important issues they want to address. The Nepalese women here, they have full capacity, but the thing is that they don't feel comfortable coming out. So, and I have confidence that if you are with them, if somebody is with the group in the grassroots level just to bring them up, definitely in 5 to 6 years we'll see Nepalese women working in good positions here.
As with all new immigrants, Prem and Rakmani tried to preserve their culture while appreciating their lives in America.
At home, what we decided since last 2 years, we speak only in Nepali with her to connect with the language. When they are not good in language, they don't want to go and join in the party.
We celebrate Diwali and also like Durga Puja. Every time when we do that at home, we call our little daughter and explain what we are doing, and that has been doing by our parents back home, and we're continuing that cultural, not in a religious, but to preserve the what you call the family cultural.
The Tihar event in the SCAT TV studio was a wonderful live event that was also cablecast for our channel. It's just one example of how immigrant groups can use the SCAT TV studio. In fact, about 30% of our programs on our channel are in languages other than English. We invite all Somerville residents to come on in, get involved, join SCAT, and start producing programs for their neighbors. Reporting for Somerville Neighborhood News, I'm SCAT TV Executive Director Wendy Blum.
Now let's head over to the Somerville Journal and hear from editor Dan Atkinson.
Hello, we'll be looking at a few new issues as we wind down the year in Somerville in next week's paper. We'll be checking on a potential new tenant for the Winter Hill Star Market and looking at what Somerville aldermen are hoping to do about absentee landlords. Then in the next week, we'll be reviewing the year with our top stories and our best photos of 2013. The paper comes out on Thursday, and you can always check us out online at www.wickedlocal.com/Somerville. And you can give me a call with any news tips at 617-629-3385 or get in touch on email at datkinson@wickedlocal.com. Thanks.
Next, Somerville High School students take a look at the class schedule that was initiated last September.
During the 2013-2014 school year, Somerville High School has implemented a brand new daily schedule. School administrators, like Darius Green, have been working hard to make sure that the transition this year is as seamless as possible for both teachers and students.
This year, 2013-2014, Somerville High School is implementing a new daily schedule. It affords students the opportunities to reach the maximum amount of time, 990, per class, as well as it gives them opportunity for an extension class or extension block where they can get caught up on work that they would normally be behind in if they were out sick or went on a field trip or needed extra time to finish an AP lab. Another great thing is that every Wednesday we either have an early dismissal, an advisory period, or a school-wide assembly.
The old schedule consisted of 5 classes a day, with a rotating schedule that lacked consistency. With the new schedule, 6 classes a day is the norm, and there's a set schedule for each weekday. With a few months of the school year complete, students have started to warm up to some of the additions.
What I like about this new schedule is that it makes a student's day go by faster, and we get a little extra time between classes, which is good. And we have an X block that makes a student who's struggling with one class catch up and get extra help and all that sort of stuff.
I think the X blocks and the weird last block Wednesdays kind of make the week go by faster.
Michael and Allie, like most of the student body, have mixed feelings about the new schedule. Many of the additions have been accepted by the students. However, things like advisory period, which is a 55-minute class every 2 weeks, has had a rocky start.
Another major thing that I dislike about the schedule is that we have an advisory block where we basically do nothing. That doesn't really help us with anything. But yeah, well, we do some work in it, but it's not enough.
And then there's X block, where one class is extended for an extra hour.
X blocks can be kind of nice. You get more work done in classes, which can be helpful for some, but other times it'd be nicer to get more help, and the teachers kind of just use it as more of a learning block instead of extra help.
From a teacher's perspective, Craig Leach, a TV media teacher at SHS, feels optimistic about the new schedule.
You hear positive and negative feedback about the schedule. You hear really great things like about that there is a spot for X block to maybe take your learning a little bit further in like an extra block, or advisory, like getting to know students in a more personal basis. But then you also hear things that maybe we're not fully prepared for X block or not fully prepared for advisory, and I think that it'll just take time for us as educators to learn how to use those times efficiently. So I think we're getting more direction. I think we're getting there.
Mr. Leach puts it best. The schedule has its kinks as of right now, but with more time, the schedule will prove its worth. Reporting for the Somerville Neighborhood News, this is Anthony Scrima.
It's great to hear from Somerville's young people about the issues that matter to them. I hope we continue to get their stories. The end of the year is coming up. Our reporters decided to head over to the Mystic Apartments.
So we are here at the Mystic, and just wanted to ask you a question about what are your hopes for improvements here at the Mystic?
I think we should have more parks around here, because there's a lot of kids that we need like more parks just to hang around and just to play.
What improvements would you like to see here at the Mystic for 2014?
Well, me and some of the youth I work with here at the Eagle Eye Institute with the Eagle Club have been learning a lot about the environment and how to protect the environment for future generations. So they're going to tell you what we want for 2014 for the Mystic neighborhood and the Mystic community. What do we want, Jacob?
We want recycling bins.
Why do we want them?
Because the trash cans are overflowing and it's polluting our world.
And that's why we would like a recycling center in the Mystic Housing Development for 2014.
So you grew up here and now you work here. For 2014, what improvements would you like to see here at the Mystic?
I would like to see the kids actually be successful with getting the recycling project that they're working on. They've been actually writing letters to housing just to ask questions why there's no recycling. I would like to see recycling in the projects for 2014. I would like to see the kids continue being involved in any of the events that goes on around here, and just for the kids just to always have a place to go or come together as a community.
I'm glad our reporters got over there. You never know what you'll discover in Somerville's neighborhood. Griselda even wrote a poem. We asked Scat TV's Erica Jones to read it for us.
Listen up, people. The Mystic is a mess. Where the Eagle kids are and where we're all getting stress. If you want to help, stop throwing. Throw it in the dumpster. It's easy as a flash. When the Mystic is clean, we can all make a splash.
We end tonight's newscast with a look at homelessness in Somerville from reporter Monica Akhtar.
Just 2 years ago, after suffering repeated domestic abuse, Helen and her children were suddenly homeless.
People have this conception of what a homeless person really looks like. You know, they're supposed to be that person that's on the street, you know, drinking and, you know, older and dirty and what have you. But when you tell them like we were, you know, we don't look the part, as you would say, but yeah. But people in Somerville really don't, it's almost like they have a blind eye to it.
After moving in and out of shelters for 2 years, they now finally have a place to call home.
I mean, they had to see a side of stuff that I never wanted them to see, but, you know, how people had drug problems or, you know, mental issues and stuff like that, so.
Domestic abuse is one of the leading causes of homelessness. Another is poverty. 15% of Somerville residents are considered poor.
The people need to open their eyes to what is actually happening out there. People see that, you know, the people that they think that are homeless they're not bad people. You know what I mean? The girl next door, the guy next door, you know, it's that simple. But a lot of people just don't understand what the word homelessness means.
Some Somerville residents are caught between the recession, the lack of subsidized housing, and rising rents. Since 2000, the median contract rent in Somerville has increased by 43%, according to the city.
Especially for people at the bottom of the economic ladder, you know, wages have been stagnant for years now, while costs have gone way up. Rent being the worst cost. I mean, if you're very poor, you almost have to have some kind of housing subsidy to be able to live in Somerville. I mean, it's very expensive because it's so desirable. You know, it's convenient to get into Boston. Somerville's hip. You know, everybody wants to live in Somerville. But people who grew up here can't afford to live here anymore. The terrible thing that's happened during this recession is that the number of people in deep poverty has increased from 16 million people to 25 million people. So deep poverty, a family of 4 in Somerville living on $11,000 a year. I mean, it's almost impossible to imagine how they can do it. They're living with so little.
Almost half of all households spend more than 1/3 of their income on rent or mortgages. Some spend more than half. The exact number of homeless individuals is difficult to count, but there are over 4,000 homeless families in the state and hundreds of homeless individuals in Somerville alone.
We have a shelter for individuals. It has 16 beds. It's filled every night. We have a family shelter with 20 beds for 5 families. It's filled every night. We have about 175 families and individuals in permanent housing that we control, but those are always filled.
As of December, some public school children were sleeping in shelters, motels, or on friends' couches.
We encourage people, you know, to come to the food pantry if they've got to make, you know, choices between paying your rent and buying food.
Project Soup, run by Somerville Homeless Coalition, is open 6 days a week and sees 15 to 25 visitors each day. The people who visit the food pantry are not always homeless. Some have jobs and families, but use their entire income to pay their rent.
We'll see you later. Have a nice holiday. All right, bye-bye.
Mark Gray was homeless until just 3 weeks ago. He now lives in Somerville Homeless Coalition's permanent housing and works to pay 30% of his rent. He says he could not have gotten there without help.
Once I reached a point where, you know, I've had enough, that I was able to, there's got to be a better way than this. And through the resources available through Casper, getting myself some recovery, and building my foundation, that I've been able to deal with other issues in my life, getting housing and getting myself back on my feet, and kind of restoring some values in myself.
Despite the booming developments taking place here in Somerville, there are still people being left behind who must resort to staying in shelters like this one here on Cross Street. Reporting for Somerville Neighborhood News, I'm Monica Akhtar.
To learn more about homelessness in the city, and especially about how it affects children, News Director Jane Regan talked with Regina Bertolo, Director of the Parent Information Center.
Regina, thank you very much for being with us here today. As you know, in our newscast tonight, we took a look at homelessness in Somerville, but we didn't actually find out a lot of if there are kids who are homeless, but I've heard that there were, and so I wanted to invite you onto the show. Maybe first you can tell us what your job is and why you know about that issue.
I am the Parent Information Center Director for the Somerville Public Schools, and also my role is the District Liaison for Homeless Students. And within that role, we make sure district liaisons and the public school districts make sure that kids have a range of transportation to go back and forth when they are homeless, if they are placed outside of Somerville, that they come back to school safe every day, back and forth.
So I guess if you have a job and your office exists, that means there are homeless kids in the city?
Yes, there are homeless students, and I can say for the kids within the Somerville public school system, we have homeless students. Massachusetts is experiencing an all-time high of homeless families lately. And we support them. Homeless students are entitled to free lunch, to after-school activities, and transportation.
About how many kids are homeless right now that are in the Somerville public school system?
We have an average of 60 children.
Wow.
Within all ages, kindergarten to the high school.
What's the impact?
It's difficult for a child because they don't have, when they go back home, a place to do their homework. It's usually they are segregated in one room with the family. We don't know how many family members there are. That is not proper food. It's usually microwavable food, fast food. And then that is the transportation component. That depending on where they are housed, they need to leave home very early. It's very hard.
It's kind of a tough issue for us to end our last newscast of the year on, but you know, we're almost at 2014. What do you think that Somerville, the city of Somerville, and the residents and people who work here, what should we all be doing to try to combat homelessness, which you say is at an all-time high?
I think not only Somerville, I think it's policy. The whole country, it's national. The whole country is experiencing it, and certainly in Massachusetts, we've experienced because we close to it. I think people need to be aware that we have a homeless student population. We need not only affordable housing, but public housing, and certainly changes in policy.
Thank you very much for joining us, and good luck for 2014. Okay.
Somerville's homeless youth and families are in our thoughts this holiday season, and we wish all our viewers a Happy New Year. That wraps up our broadcast. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back in 3 weeks on January 14th.
If you have ideas for stories you'd like to see, or if you would like to get involved as an anchor or a reporter, please drop us a line at news@scatvsomerville.org.
And remember that you can watch Somerville Neighborhood News anytime on our website, where you can view the news in subtitles in 44 different languages. And I think that's a wrap.